The movie begins with a meeting where a military officer explains that many soldiers are not being used effectively because there's no war, so they grow old and pass away. To solve this, they proposed a project called the Human Hibernation Project, where soldiers would be put into a sleeping chamber and frozen. The temperature would be controlled to prevent aging. But to make it work, they need someone to fully test the idea. A soldier named Joe Bauers is shown to be the least skilled person in the army, lacking in intelligence. Since no one visits the library where he works, he feels quite useless. His commanding officer arrives and tells him to leave the library job and accompany him. Joe tries to avoid it but eventually agrees to go with the officer after some insistence. The military higher-ups, desperate to find an equally unremarkable counterpart to Joe within their ranks, opt to recruit Rita, a seasoned and worldly wise woman whose previous profession as a prostitute sets her apart from the conventional army personnel. As she nervously steps into the enclosed confines of the sleeping chamber, her trepidation palpable, Joe, ever the reassuring presence, offers words of comfort to allay her fears, reminding her that they are both in this together. With a cloak of secrecy shrouding their mission, the duo prepares to embark on an uncertain journey, unaware of the peculiar adventures and challenges that await them beyond the walls of their frozen sanctuary. As the plot unfolds, the head of the mission faces a startling arrest, embroiled in scandalous accusations of gambling and involvement in a seedy world of prostitution. Consequently, the once vibrant and industrious army unit is systematically dismantled by the whirring cranes of justice, leaving a starkly silent and abandoned landscape in its wake. Meanwhile, Joe and Rita, unwittingly caught in the web of events, remain trapped within the confines of the now forgotten sleeping chambers, lost in the tides of time as the world around them moves forward. Days turn into months, and months into years, yet the memories of the covert project fade into oblivion, relegated to the dusty corners of history. The once thriving space that housed the mission now remains a forgotten relic, buried beneath layers of bureaucratic paperwork and the shifting sands of public consciousness. As the world marches on, the dormant chambers lie undisturbed, their inhabitants are frozen in a timeless slumber, their significance slowly eroding as a distant memory. The movie takes a sharp turn, transporting viewers to the bustling and innovative world of the scientific community, where high hopes for the preservation and advancement of human intellect once resided. However, as the sands of time trickle down, a disconcerting shift takes hold. Human cognitive prowess begins to dwindle, like a dying ember in the fading light. Amidst the looming crisis, the populace looks expectantly to the scientific luminaries for a solution, hoping for a resolute intervention to safeguard the dwindling intellectual capacities of their kind. Yet, much to their dismay, the scientific minds that were once revered for their pursuit of knowledge and progress seem to have diverted their focus toward more trivial pursuits. Rather than addressing the grave concern at hand, the scientific community is found preoccupied with the pursuit of trivial advancements, such as hair growth remedies and the enhancement of sexual prowess. This alarming neglect of the core issue sends shockwaves through the fabric of society, ultimately setting the stage for a catastrophic downfall. As the centuries roll by, the consequences of this neglect become all too apparent, leading to a jarring transformation of the human landscape. Over 500 years, the very essence of identity and the faculties of intellectual prowess diminished to a shadow of their former selves, leaving behind a populace stripped of their mental acumen, devoid of the defining traits that once set them apart as a thriving species. The year 2505 depicts how humans are unable to address even basic issues, such as the problem of garbage. Piles of trash are scattered everywhere, and humans lack the intellectual capacity to handle this waste. In one scene, a car dumps garbage on a pile, which suddenly begins to slide down the hill, taking the sleeping chambers of Joe and Rita with it. Joe's sleeping chamber crashes through the window of a man who is eating and watching a movie. Joe emerges from the chamber and asks the man if they are at the base. The man responds with confusion, throwing Joe out of the house. Joe then notices a shop named Buttfuckers, with children inside, which shocks him because the language isn't suitable for them. Joe attempts to speak with some people but is taken aback by their vulgar language and immoral behavior. Their rude conduct and speech greatly disappoint Joe. Joe, struggling to comprehend his surroundings, decides to go to the hospital, believing he is experiencing hallucinations due to the sleeping chamber. However, he is shocked to find contamination and trash all around the hospital. When he tries to drink water from a tap, electrolyte comes out instead. Upon asking a man for clean water, he is told it's available from the toilet. Joe is amazed that people are drinking water from the toilet. He then seeks out another doctor to explain his condition. The doctor gives Joe 3 rods, one for his mouth, one for his ear, and one for his butt. Joe is shocked by this bizarre treatment and the low intellectual level of the people. Despite this, he follows the doctor's instructions and puts one rod in his mouth and one in his ear. The doctor realizes his mistake, stating that the mouth rod was meant for the butt. Joe runs away in distress and rinses his mouth with electrolyte water. He returns to the doctor, explaining that he might have been given some drugs by the army as he is experiencing strange visions and hearing strange words. He asks the doctor for some medication so that he can return to the army. The casually dressed doctor starts laughing and uses abusive language, asking Joe to put his finger in a machine for scanning. Joe realizes that it's the year 2505, while he entered the sleeping chamber in 2005, meaning 500 years have passed. Anxious, he looks out the window and sees things like building destruction and piles of garbage. When the doctor realizes Joe doesn't have a tattoo, he shouts that he's not scannable. Joe starts running and begins to understand that he's in a century where the economy is ruined and people lack intellectual abilities. The police arrest Joe and take him to court, where the same person whose window Joe's sleeping chamber broke into serves as his lawyer. Two serious accusations are made against Joe: not paying the hospital bill and not having a tattoo. Joe hopes that the lawyer will support him, but the lawyer speaks against him, blaming him for breaking into his house and interrupting his TV time. When Joe tries to speak, everyone, including the lawyer, mocks him. Joe is taken to a machine to get a tattoo on his hand. When asked if the number displayed is his, Joe hesitates, and the machine labels him, "not sure," as his name. He is then taken to another machine to test his IQ, and he answers all the questions correctly. Finally, he is sent to jail, from where he manages to escape. Rita also emerges from the sleeping chamber and goes back to her prostitution work. She realizes the people here are unintelligent, so she takes their money and sends them away. The focus then returns to Joe, who rushes to his lawyer's house and explains everything. He asks if the lawyer knows about a time machine, to which the lawyer responds affirmatively. Joe requests his help, offering to travel back 500 years to deposit a substantial amount of money into his account. The lawyer agrees and drives Joe to the time machine in his car. On the way, they come across Rita and decide to take her with them. They entered the machine chamber for the time travel, but the police became aware of Joe's presence. The lawyer escaped without any trouble, and Rita remained safe by hiding in the washroom. However, Joe was once again in police custody, but this time, he was taken to the White House. There, he was informed that he was considered the world's smartest person because he had answered all the questions correctly during his time in jail. The president, who is not only a former SmackDown champion and a porn star but also the president of America. His appearance, manner of speaking, and everything about him are quite ridiculous. He addresses the nation, promising to resolve crop issues with the help of a man named, Not Sure, whom he touts as the most intelligent person. He pledges to stabilize the economy and resolve various problems. Joe in the president's house was shown all the ceremonial protocol. He asks the lawyer about the location of the time machine, and the lawyer informs him that the time machine is in the museum. Joe announces that they will visit the nearby museum land to examine the crops. He calls Rita, intending to return to his own time. The lawyer hands him a map to the time machine, and Joe is thrilled to see it. As they prepare to escape, they realize the map is nothing but a silly drawing. Joe discovers that the reason the crops aren't growing is that people are using sports drinks instead of water. He advises the officials to water the crops instead, leading to a heated argument. The officials initially refuse, but after prolonged discussion, they agree to Joe's proposal. However, despite their efforts, there is no improvement. Meanwhile, the owner of the energy drink plant instigates a violent strike since many people have lost their jobs. The officials blame Joe for the chaos and sentence him to death. On the fateful day, Joe was placed in a small car facing the mighty bulldozer of Beef Supreme, sparking a fight for survival. Using his intellect, Joe managed to outmaneuver everyone and emerge victorious. Meanwhile, Rita and the lawyer witnessed small plants sprouting from the crops that Joe had sown. The lawyer called his cameraman, and the live footage of the plants was broadcast, bringing joy and excitement to the president and the people. Joe's life was spared, and he suggested returning to their time using the museum's time machine, but Rita declined, having found a purpose in improving the community as the CEO of Starbucks. Upon public insistence, Joe decided to stay and serve as the vice president at the president's request. Resolving to better humanity, he married Rita, eventually becoming the president of America. It was a happy ending filled with promise and hope for a brighter future. Joe finds himself elevated to a position of authority, with the potential to reshape the future. With the support of his allies, including Rita and a few others, he works tirelessly to undo the damage caused by centuries of intellectual decline. Together, they strive to revive critical thinking and reverse societal degradation, offering a glimmer of hope for a brighter, more intelligent future for humanity. With the support of Rita and a few dedicated individuals, he launched initiatives aimed at revitalizing intelligence and problem-solving skills within the populace. Through innovative policies and education reforms, he instills a renewed sense of intellectual curiosity and encourages the pursuit of knowledge. A transformed society was shown gradually embracing a culture of learning and advancement. Scenes depict schools bustling with engaged students, communities coming together to tackle environmental challenges, and a renewed focus on innovation and progress. Joe's unwavering determination and Rita's unwavering support become emblematic of the resilience of the human spirit and its capacity for redemption and growth. The movie's conclusion serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of intellectual curiosity and critical thinking in shaping the trajectory of human civilization. It underscores the significance of nurturing these qualities to ensure a prosperous and sustainable future for generations to come.